But let's see you use it to do something creative with it. How about?
Yeah. I mean, this is a spiritual thing, and it's happening on a spiritual level. And it doesn't matter if somebody hearing that scoffs at it and laughs at it and says, that's a load of BS. I don't believe in all that stuff. You know, I'm not religious. I'm not spiritual. I'm grounded in the real world. Guess what? Anyone taking that kind of approach to this sort of thing, they're laughing at you. They love people like that. They love people to write this all off as coincidence or just one of those things. That's exactly the kind of public response they're relying on. Either people scoffing at it and laughing at it and just not accepting it, or people that just don't care. You know, they're either too dumb to see it, or even when they hear a hint of it and their conspiracy theory friend that they like to mock and take the piss out of, you know, might mention it to them, and they'll have a good old laugh at him and say, oh, that guy, he's always talking about his conspiracies. And then they go right back to watching these videos and, you know, going about their life and not giving it a second thought. That is exactly the kind of attitude that these dark controllers are relying on. And it's because of those attitudes that they've been able to get away with what they've been doing for so long. So it's happening on a spiritual level, and it doesn't matter who believes that and who doesn't, because it goes on being the truth anyway. There are truths in reality which go beyond what any one individual might think of them or not. You know, truth is truth, and there are spiritual laws in the universe. And we might not believe in them or choose to accept them, but best believe those controlling these industries do. They understand the nature of reality. They understand that this is not a solid physical world as it appears. They understand that everything in creation is energy vibrating at an endless array of different frequencies. And they understand that we, as humans, with free will consciousness, with that incredible gift that we've been endowed with by the creative force behind the universe, we actually have the power to shape and mould and create the type of reality that we experience. If you apply your will and your intent to a situation that you wish to manifest, you actually have the power to make that happen, because we're co-creators in this reality with creation itself, and we're aspects of it. And so if you have a group of individuals, such as these networks of dark occult societies that are running the show, and all the key players in these groups are all focusing their thoughts, emotions, and actions together in that trinity towards a particular scenario that they wish to manifest, and they're all on track with it. They don't stray from the program. You know, they're all constantly committed to the overall situation that they wish to bring about, and they perform these rituals. You know, they get together at these various key points in the Earth's energy grid system, and they perform these rituals to bring about certain energetic states so that they can have a bearing on the type of reality that manifests. You know, they're doing this stuff all the time, and they're very, very much on program with each other. And that's how they've been able to be so successful, and that's why they've got the entire world gripped in this satanic mindset which they revel in. And that's why all the stuff that we see going on in the world, from stuff in the entertainment industry, all these dark occult signs and symbols and all this stuff, to the situation that we have in the world at large, you know, war and injustice and suffering and poverty and all of that. All these are states of being that have been brought about as a result of this small number of individuals just being absolutely committed to the type of reality that they want in this world, and applying their thoughts, emotions and actions to it, understanding that everything is energy, understanding the true nature of reality, and understanding that it can be manipulated, it's malleable, and it can be, you know, changed according to will. Aleister Crowley, the famous British dark occultist, crops up time and time again in the story of the music industry on both sides of the Atlantic. So many artists through the years have expressed an absolute fascination with his works, and one of his key tenets was he talked about the art of causing change to occur in accordance with will. And it ties into exactly this same thing. You apply your will and your intent to a situation strongly enough and intensely enough, and you can actually bring that about. So the point here is we've got such a small number of individuals compared to the overall global population that have been dictating and directing and controlling events for far too long, many thousands of years. And when you get down to the numbers, it's probably a case of tens of thousands, no more than a few tens of thousands, controlling the lives of the remaining 7 billion people in this world. And they've been able to achieve it just by staying focused and all being on point and being on track and, working in tandem with each other and applying their will and their intent to a desired outcome. Now imagine the situation if large numbers, massive numbers of us were to wake up to what's going on and apply our will and our intent towards the type of experience that we want to have. An end to all this suffering and all this madness and all this injustice in the world and all these bloody rituals going on and all this satanic stuff. If we focused on a better future, a better experience for us, for our children, for our families, enjoying the abundance of life, enjoying connectedness with creation and all the incredible gifts that are right there for us in life if we choose them, if we want them enough. Imagine how quickly we could overwrite the version of reality that we've got and the version of reality that is held into place by all these rituals and all this stuff that's going on and people just turning a blind eye to it and not accepting it. I feel we could turn the situation around very quickly and overwrite that very low level of consciousness that we've currently got around the world with a much higher level of consciousness in which some very different physical scenarios could emerge. That probably sounds a little deep and a little far out there for a lot of people, but it is the truth of the matter. And just going back to what I said at the start of all of that, it doesn't matter if you don't believe in spiritual laws of the universe. It doesn't matter if you don't accept that the nature of reality is energetic in nature. They do. They know this stuff, and they're laughing at you if you choose to reject it or say that it doesn't matter, because only facing up to this and resolving to make things better in our large numbers, again, it's a case of waking up large numbers of people and getting them on track. That's the only way any of this is going to change. People say all the time, what's the way out of this? Where are the solutions? What do we do about it? Well, as far as I'm concerned, the only way it can happen is in consciousness, overwriting this version of reality with a better version. That's the only way it can be done. It can't be done physically, step by step, brick by brick, because the control system is too massive and too deep for it to be dismantled in that way. It has to happen at a much deeper level. It's a satanic mindset, and they've manipulated humanity into that being the default kind of setting for people. And Satanism is not what a lot of people think it is. Leaving aside the sort of Christian religious viewpoint of what Satanism is all about, worship of the devil and all of that. Satanism, when you really get down to it, is all about service to self. Utter selfishness, appeasing your ego, staying grounded in base consciousness and the whims and desires of your physical self, completely cut off from your spirituality, from your true nature. It's what suits me right now in my life, in my circumstances. To hell with everyone else, to hell with how my actions might impact on others. Not giving a second thought to anyone other than yourself. Me, all day long. And, if we're honest about it, that is most people in the world. Most people's thoughts.
It's narcissism on blast, on full blast.
And they love it. These controllers love it because they've got the majority of people, 95% plus, I would say. Maybe I'm even being naive in that figure. In that kind of mindset all day, every day. And that absolutely suits their plans because it's as far away from do no harm and do not treat others in a way you would wish not to be treated yourself as you can get. Do no harm is the golden rule of natural law, universal law. That's the rule we should all be following. And if everyone in the world was living their life and structuring their thoughts, emotions and actions according to that principle, we would have a very different world to the one that we're currently living in. And yet humanity has been manipulated and mind-controlled towards the exact polar opposite of that tenet, which is bugger everyone else, I'm getting mine. And it's even worshipped, it's even rewarded. It's certainly rewarded in the world of business. If you're someone that's ruthless and you don't care who you trample over on your way to the top, you have power in mind and you're going to achieve it no matter what, you get rewarded. You get rewarded with a big job title and a big salary and a nice house and a yacht. That sort of thing is rewarded in society, the satanic mindset. So that's what's got to change. And it might seem like an unsurmountable object, but every process has to start somewhere. This dark control process that we've got now had its roots somewhere. It started somewhere. It gained its power from one single point. And the old adage is, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So if we want to change the consciousness of this world, and if we want a better reality for ourselves, we shouldn't be thinking it can't be done, the immovable object is too big, why even try? No, you've got to take the view that it starts here, and we're the generation that's going to make it happen. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? Anyone listening to this is as good as anyone else as a participant in that process, and right now, at this moment, is as good a time to start as any. And actually, the last phrase in my book, the very last sentence on the last page is, only one question remains, therefore. How much do we want it? That's the phrase that I leave readers with. And, a point that I often make at the end of these interviews is a lot of this information can seem very dark, and people could leave with the impression that things are pretty hopeless and now I can't listen to a whole bunch of the music that I used to enjoy because these artists are a part of this agenda. And that's absolutely not the case. I mean, I still love listening to music. I'm still a music guy, as I know you are. And it is simply a case of understanding what's being done and then making conscious choices based on that. So, for instance, one of my favourite tracks has always been Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. I'm mainly a hip-hop guy and a black music guy, but I love that record. It's a classic. And I've done some studies into it, and almost certainly there's some stuff going on beneath the surface in terms of the recording of that track, hidden messages in reverse, hinting at, dark occult practices, Satanism and stuff. But it doesn't mean you can't continue to enjoy that record, because it's a great song. And all it takes is just being aware of the fact that there could be stuff happening beneath the surface and getting out of the subconscious mind where it can have that mind-controlling effect and into the conscious mind. So you're listening to that piece of music and you think, okay, I know there's some stuff about Led Zeppelin. I know they were very much into Satanism and the occult, but hey, this is just a great song and I'm jamming to it and I'm enjoying it because I like music. So I'm not saying to anyone you have to stop listening to music. I'm just saying you do need to be aware of what it's being used for and stop letting it control you on that subconscious level. So on that note, I'd just like to pretty much wrap things up. Everything I've spoken about today and a whole lot more is in my book. So Musical Truth is 5 years worth of research. It's everything I've come to understand about the tactics that have been employed in the corporate music industry since the start, pretty much, on both sides of the Atlantic. So we're getting into mind-controlled artists, the links to transhumanism, the systematic degeneration of hip-hop culture. There's stuff there on ritual sacrifice, demonic possession, sound frequencies, the early days of the industry. There's specific chapters on the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, and particularly Paul McCartney, and a whole load of other stuff. The last two chapters are putting it all into the context of the nature of reality, how all this stuff has been possible. What this reality is, what human consciousness is, how natural law works, what free will consciousness is, and how we can apply all that to take back our power. So the last couple of chapters are very important for people to take on board, I would suggest.